It's kind of funny. We're living in this world that's just buzzing with texts and pings and endless social feeds. We've literally never had more ways to talk to each other. But is all that talking actually making us feel connected? Today, we're going to dive into this really fascinating project that asks a pretty huge question. In our rush to make everything efficient, did we accidentally design friendship right out of our lives? Let's get into it. I mean, just look at it. On paper, we are hyper-connected. Our digital lives are just this constant stream of communication, right? A total mashup of conversations and ideas and updates. You'd think we'd never been closer. But if that's really true, then why do so many of us feel so deeply lonely, even when we're literally surrounded by millions of other people? This is the huge paradox of modern city life, and it's the big question we're going to try and unpack today. And look, this isn't about you or me failing at making friends. The big idea we're exploring here is that maybe this is a design problem. What if the very cities we live in are, well, making us lonely by design? There's a great phrase for it: together but alone. You know that feeling, right? Being on a packed subway car or walking down a busy street, but feeling completely and totally invisible. The argument is that in our race to make cities faster and smarter and more efficient, we've accidentally stripped out the very things that make us feel like we belong. Just think about the trade-offs we've made without even realizing it. On one hand, yeah, we have all this infrastructure built for pure speed. Things like self-checkout, automated trains, food delivery apps. But what's the accidental consequence? We get fewer of those messy, spontaneous human moments. That quick chat with the cashier, or sharing a look with a stranger on the bus. We're moving through these massive crowds, but we're all just trapped in our own little digital bubbles. Okay, so what if we could use design to fix the very problem that design created? And that is where this incredible project comes in. It's called the Reconnect Booth, and it's not about forcing people to connect, not at all. It's about giving them a gentle nudge in the right direction. So just imagine seeing this thing sitting in a busy public space, like a community center or a public square. The Reconnect Booth is basically a pause point. It's a simple invitation. It's this quiet little space that just asks two strangers who happen to be there at the exact same time to just sit down together for a minute. The designers, Ikra Bano and Shema Al-Janaibi, they built this whole thing on one key idea: make it super low pressure. There's no awkward, what do you do? Because a simple digital prompt breaks the ice for you. It's this really clever process that kicks off digitally, but the whole point is for it to end with a real physical connection. It gives people a safe, easy reason to just acknowledge the person sitting right there next to them. So how in the world do you actually engineer a moment of pure chance, of serendipity? It sounds impossible, right? Well, let's walk through exactly what it feels like from the moment two strangers decide to take a seat. The whole process is just brilliantly simple. So two people sit down, a screen pops up with a light, kind of reflective question, nothing too personal or intense. Each person answers privately on their own little screen. Then, this system shows them a simple compatibility score based on their answers. And finally, it offers them a chance to take the conversation into the real world. And the interface itself is super clean and easy. Both people get the same fun, simple question. Something like, your ideal weekday evening involves, and they get a few choices. See, this isn't some deep psychological profile. It's just a gentle way to find a tiny bit of common ground. So after a few of these questions, the system shows a match score. And again, let's be clear. The goal here is not complex matchmaking. This is not a dating app. It is simply about showing two people, hey, look at that. You have something in common. It's just a tiny little spark designed to make that other person feel a little less like a complete and total stranger. And here, this is the really clever part. If the match score is pretty good, the booth helps you make that leap from the digital world to the physical one. It might suggest a nearby coffee shop and say, hey, why don't you guys continue the chat over there? It might even offer a little discount if they go together. It just completely removes all the friction and the awkwardness of one person having to say, so, want to go grab a coffee? And this all comes back to this amazing core idea: engineered serendipity. You can't force two people to become friends. It's impossible. It's not how humans work. But what you can do with really thoughtful design is create the perfect conditions, the perfect little moment where a spontaneous, genuine connection has a real chance to spark. Okay, so this is where we zoom all the way out, because the Reconnect Booth, as cool as it is really more than just a clever piece of furniture.
It's a prototype for a much, much bigger idea about how we ought to be building our cities from the ground up.
We're all used to thinking about infrastructure as hard stuff, right? Roads, bridges, power grids. But this project introduces this idea of soft infrastructure, the stuff that supports our social well-being. This is your parks, your public squares, and maybe, yeah, even things like the Reconnect Booth. These are spaces and systems designed not just for getting from point A to point B, but for creating a real sense of community and belonging.
You know, this whole project reminds us of a really fundamental truth, especially now, in this age of smart cities and high-tech everything. The goal of technology shouldn't just be more technology. It should be to create more humanity. And sometimes the most advanced tool we have for connection is actually profoundly simple.
And that really brings us to the final takeaway here. It's a question that this whole project leaves us with. And it's a question for every single one of us who lives in a city and cares about what it's going to become.
Look, we absolutely have the tools and the tech to keep building cities that are faster and smarter and more ruthlessly efficient than ever before. We can optimize every single commute, every delivery, every little transaction. We can do that.
But the question is, should that be the only thing we care about? Or can we start making different choices? Can we choose to design and build cities that prioritize not just efficiency, but human connection and belonging, and those wonderful, random moments of serendipity? Can we build them not just as places to move through, but as places to truly live in, together? At the end of the day, it's a choice that we all have a part in making.